Hey everyone, I'm Nick D'Antonio, and this is D'Antone on drums. Today we're going to talk about part 2 of Fresh Wind, where we go into spontaneous worship, free worship, ministering the moment, lots of different ways to put it. But basically, it's an unplanned moment in the service. We didn't say sometimes ahead of time you'll say, hey, let's leave some space here. Let's see where this goes after the song. For this example, none of that. It just sort of happened really spontaneously. I always love when that happens. For me, I feel like we're, driving down the highway and I'm always looking for maybe an off-ramp or an exit that might take us in a different direction than we planned. And I'm always sort of looking at different points of the service, different points of the song. Is this something, if I hear something, if I see something, or get a sense of something, I'm asking the Holy Spirit, is this where you want us to go? Do you want us to go over here? And sometimes we'll explore that. And this was one of those moments. And really, I'm playing something that can either go up or come down, and based on what the reaction of the worship leader is. In this case, he was right with me. He was already thinking the same thing, so it was perfect. I always love when that happens. And but really, our job as drummers is to make the job of the worship leader easy. We're trying to somewhat be mind readers here. When there's not a worship director who can give you cues, we kind of got to do that and make the call ourselves and try to steer the ship a little bit from the back while trying to follow them as much as possible. So this is how we do it. This is how I did it. This is part 2 of Fresh Wind, Spontaneous Worship. Let's get into it. All right, so I had about 2 to 3 seconds to decide what I was going to do here as the song kind of comes down at the end, and I just made the decision to keep going. Like I said, I felt like it was the right thing to do at that time, and I don't know why I made the decision, what it was, because I remember it happening very, very quickly, and sometimes that's just what it is, and I just go with it, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I know I can take these liberties, and I want to try. I'm looking, like, my heart as a worshiper is to follow the Holy Spirit. And I'm okay with being wrong when it doesn't, train wreck the service. So I would encourage you to try this with your team. If this is something that's totally new, if you guys don't do this at all, get together and practice it. Like, practice it. We're gonna try something at the end of the song and then try it. It's a muscle that has to be developed. It takes time. It's not going to be perfect at first, but over time, as you build up that muscle, it's going to become more and more natural. And you'll be able to see as you try it and it goes well or it doesn't, you can sort of debrief and figure out what you can do better. But you got to try. I don't want to just do the same songs the same way every single time. I want to look for what the Holy Spirit is doing and follow. That's, I think that's our job as people who are on a worship team. Really, I think we're all worship leaders in one way or another. And so I encourage you to look for those times, build that muscle. For me, you'll start to hear and sense, and that becomes more clear as you try it. For me, sometimes it's a quick thing like it was in this case. Other times I'll be playing a part, and I usually hear parts 2 or at least a few bars ahead of what I want to play. And sometimes when I'm playing, for me, I noticed this when I was still a teenager, that sometimes the toms would sound wet. And when that happened, I would know that the Holy Spirit wanted to. Sort of his way of getting my attention. It doesn't always happen that way, and it doesn't happen very often, but that was something for me. So maybe there'll be something for you that's sort of like it's sort of like the Holy Spirit kind of catching your attention. Like, hey, let's go this direction over here. So be looking for those types of things and try things. If you're totally new to it and your team is new to it, your worship leader is new to it, or you're just new to it's different. You're on a new team, or you're just getting together. Take the time to practice it. Take the time to try stuff, to work stuff out, to talk it through, see what works, see what doesn't, and then you can feel more comfortable about trying it in a service. So I'm playing something here that's interesting enough that keeps the part going, but not so intricate that it's distracting. And there's lots of little things you can do, like this, playing the toms real low with a little bit of a repetitive rhythm or a defined rhythm can do that. It sort of, again, like lays a bed underneath what's going on, and that allows the team, and especially the worship leader, to go, oh, Okay, let's follow this, and they'll either jump on or jump off. They'll be like, hey, cut it out. We want to go to the next song. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing here. So, but you want to play something that keeps it going, but doesn't isn't distracting, doesn't draw attention to yourself. So there's a fine line there. If you don't know, just try something. Like I said, you got to practice this kind of thing. It's a little awkward at first, but it'll become natural. So here we're going to start with the very end of the song, and you'll see we planned pretty much talk through. We know the order of the song right up to the end here where we drop down, and then it goes to kind of into that spontaneous, that free worship part. At this point, I feel pretty good. He wants to keep going, and we're gonna roll with this. So I'm playing pretty confident here, and I'm gonna start to bring in other things, start to build with the crashes as we start to build it up and go back into something. Now here I'm starting to build it up a little bit. I turn the snare wires off on the snare because I want to use another a tool. So I'm going to use this tool of the snare with the wires off because I don't want the crunch or the attack of the snare, but I want to use that drum because it's high pitched, it's different, it's going to help me build, but it's not going to take me a full level up like the snare would. It's going to take me a half level, which is what I want. I like to play all those levels of dynamics and volume between 0 and 10, and every point in between, and that helps me do that. And so I'm starting to build up a little bit here. I'm going to use the cymbals a little bit here. Eventually I'll turn the snare wires back on as we continue to build, but I'm still locked on the worship leader. If you watch me, I'm really watching. He's straight ahead of me, and I'm really looking for, like, what does he want here? Does he want me to go to a full build? And I'm just sort of sitting back and trying to build a little bit. I'm trying to read what he wants and take it from there. All right, here I flip the snare back on, and I know we're going to start building it up, and we're going to go back to a full beat. And you can also, I've got like so I have basically a it must be, it's a 1-ply head that I cut off. It's about 2 inches wide, like a donut that I put on the snare. It's on there sometimes. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Especially if I'm using the snare drum without snares, I like to have one of the some kind of, either it's a head or they have different devices for that, but an old drum head or something like this, a donut ring, an O-ring. It takes the ring out, makes it a little bit flatter, makes it a little bit fatter. If I'm not playing with the snares on, I like to use that. And so we're going to build up here, go back to a full beat. And, I might be a little guilty of overplaying here. Maybe I got caught up in the moment. I guess that's up for debate. I played what I played. And but we'll go back into a full beat, and then we'll drop down at the end of the song, and we'll finish it out. Playing that same rhythm that I played in the big chorus earlier in the song with those hits right here. Boom, boom, boom. So I probably should have laid off here. I'm playing the snare a little bit. This is what I might do if we're going to go back into it. So I did the toms before. Now I'm using the snare and the cymbals. Same idea. I probably should have laid off here a little bit. I didn't. I probably should have. I think I was just excited and caught up in the moment. And, that's why it's good to watch these stuff back. Listen to your stuff back. Go over it with your team. You learn stuff. How can you improve for next time? All right, so that was one example of what a spontaneous or free worship moment looks like from my perspective and why I played what I played. Please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might find it helpful or interesting, whether it's a worship leader, a music director, or obviously another drummer. Please share it with them, and we'll see you next time.